9 years on from the worst environmental disaster in Brazilian history, a long-awaited fight for compensation has finally begun.
We are not here for nothing. We are here to get justice.
19 people were swept to their deaths and villages were destroyed when an iron ore mine unleashed a wave of toxic sludge near the town of Mariana.
The river is really important for our culture, and now basically the river is dead.
Members of the Krenak Indigenous tribe are some of the 620,000 people who are suing BHP over the collapse. They say it wasn't just human life destroyed, but the Doce River, which was polluted, was sacred and irreplaceable. Galvana Rodrigues lost her 7-year-old son, Tiago.
His body was found around 100 kilometres away. It destroyed my family, and now I am here because I want justice.
The court heard that BHP is trying to avoid responsibility, and there was a chasm between what the company regards as acceptable compensation and what the claimants consider they're legally and morally entitled to. Just days ago, BHP announced it's negotiating a new settlement with Brazilian authorities, which could provide $45 billion in compensation to communities. It argues that this case duplicates those efforts, but lawyers representing the 620,000 complainants say most of them have received nothing.
This is a monumental trial in the sense that it's a chance to hold the world's largest mining company accountable for what they've done.
The trial's expected to run for 12 weeks, with the victims seeking 70 billion Australian dollars in compensation for the loss of their culture. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, London.
We're heading into HMP Elmley in Kent. They've been operating at almost 100% capacity here. At points, they've had only 4 cell spaces left.
Just so busy.
And even though we're escorted round by experienced staff, you could feel the tension.
So a prisoner there was just presenting himself with scars on his body, and he said this is what prison does, self-harm.
We'd been there only 15 minutes. It was just after 8 a.m. The prisoners were out during morning unlock and an incident on the wing.
She'd just come out of a briefing with the governor. She was talking about the unpredictability of prison, what we might expect throughout the day. And in that moment, we heard an alarm go off and a member of staff had been assaulted.
Tight conditions here are having an impact.
A lot of frustration builds up. When you're in a cell, them cells get hot. So hotter is proven to make people less patient, and then it means that there's more chance of violence going up and self-harm going up because they are spending so much time looking at the same 4 walls. One of my staff assaulted this morning. That's the ultimate proof in the pudding that those sort of conditions do make things more challenging.
And so does the use of weapons. This body scanner is used for security searches on prisoners.
Are you seeing different types of weapons?
You can do, yeah. Mainly they're homemade weapons, so weapons that are made in the cells, cutlery. They get plastic knives and forks. They can be sharpened down quite easily. Piece of metal put into the end of vape caps. It's anything you could improvise, really.
And they're hiding them in them?
Yeah, hiding them in their socks, hiding them on the person, in the bedding, in the cells, elsewhere on the landing, in the TVs. Basically, people have got 24 hours a day to try and figure out where they can hide things.
So they are?
Yeah.
This is a single cell?
Single cell, yeah.
Men are spending almost 20 hours a day in their cells. More people mean strict and rigid routines. All of it fueling friction. And for staff, they're feeling it.
What's a bad day like?
Could be anything. Could be fighting a fire, could be giving CPR, could be stopping a giant fight, a near-on riot, could be anything. Some days you come in and you've got all of that in one day, some days you've got none of it. Every day is unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to come into. There's not enough staff for the amount of prisoners.
The government is releasing people early across the prison estate to free up space. But sometimes, without the right support, perhaps without accommodation, people are coming back in. Matt is in prison on remand for drug offences and is noticing it happen.
It's like a revolving door, unfortunately.
I'm seeing a lot of people that are being released homeless, and they're coming back for breaches of some sort or another because they'd rather be here. There's that as well. You know?
People would rather be in
They've
prison.
got a roof over their head, yeah.
Many in here aren't yet sentenced or are awaiting trial. The remand population across the country is the highest it's been in 5 decades. That's adding to population pressures, made worse by a summer of riots.
When there was the civil unrest that was going on, the pressure to then make sure you are filling every usable space. So we have, daily meetings, daily calls to make sure that every bed was used. So it just felt like a pressure cooker. The flashpoints throughout the day, the serving of the meal, medication times became more pressured because you've got really the maximum amount of people that we can cope with.
A high remand population means a heavy churn of people, some with short stays.
They will be working Monday to Friday lunchtime.
That makes purposeful activity, like employment here in the laundry room and education, much more restricted.
It can be very difficult because what it means is you have a higher level of unemployed prisoners. And the last thing we want to be doing is having people in their cells longer than they need to be, or people that want to work, not able to work.
Number 4's curry and vegetable pasty. Number 5 is herb couscous.
But it's work that keeps them busy.
Number 5!
The time we had in jail was just a snapshot, not the worst day they'd seen, but not without incidents either. All of it reflective of a prison system that's spent months in crisis. And they're not out of it yet. Molly Malone, Sky News at HMP Elmley in Kent.
Well, for their part, the Ministry of Justice told us the new government inherited a prison system on the point of collapse. It has been forced to introduce an early release programme to stop a crisis that would have overwhelmed the criminal justice system. Going on to add meaning we would no longer be able to lock up dangerous criminals and to protect the public.
A man has died and 15 others have been taken to hospital after 2 trains collided in central Wales. The incident happened on the line near the village of Llanbrynmawr in Paris at 7:30 yesterday evening. The collision involved a service from Shrewsbury to Aberystwyth and a service from Myrcynlleth to Shrewsbury. National Rail said the operational incident meant lines were closed and trains may be cancelled or revised. Police in Wales have released this statement. It says the force was called to the collision between 2 trains which occurred near Llanbrynmawr in Paris at just before 7:30 p.m. on Monday, October the 21st. Sadly, we can confirm a man has died following the collision. His next of kin have been informed and his family are being supported by specialist officers. A further 15 people have been taken to hospital with injuries not believed to be life-threatening or life-changing. All other passengers have now been evacuated from both trains. Well, Sky's Greg Bynum joins us now from Llanbrynmawr, close to the scene of the crash with the very latest, Greg.
Yeah, well, those 2 trains remain down on that track behind me at the bottom of the valley here. When you get up close to them, you can see the impact. Two carriage trains that were travelling in opposite directions. And when you talk to local people here, their suspicion is this is a single line of track. And not far up the track, there's a passing place, a loop as they call it. And normally one train waits there while the other one passes. It appears from what people were saying who were here last night that one of those trains didn't stop and therefore they came nose to nose. That low speed crash, as the police described it, and you can see the impact that caused, and those trains remain there. As the investigation is going on now, there was a huge emergency services response here last night, including air ambulances, in dealing with some of those people who were on board, some of those who were scurrying up the bank to get onto the road after that impact. And we spoke a little earlier to someone who lives in this valley who told us what he saw.
We saw the emergency service passing the house and thinking, hang on, there's one. Ooh, there's another one coming. Well, what's going on? By the time we got out, a policeman was putting the sign of road closure, and we overheard on the radio that there was a train incident. And we came to this spot and we could see the trains and then all the other emergency services coming down, and yeah, the whole valley was glowing with blue lights. So there was a quite a few, and then shortly afterwards we had an air ambulance arriving, and then a little bit later we had 2 Coast Guard helicopters as well.
Now, he also said the concern for locals is that school children will be using that train service in increasing numbers in the weeks to come because of some road closures. So people living here want some answers about what happened, what went wrong, and what can be done to avoid that. More urgently, the rail line, according to Transport for Wales, to the east of here will remain closed while their specialist teams are working. They're telling people not to travel in this area, or certainly people should be checking what the situation is on the railways here, bearing in mind the fact those trains are still there and that investigation is ongoing.
Greg Milam, as always, thanks so much.
يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله.
Airstrikes and missile strikes underway in real time. And we know this morning, the United States, they are investigating a leak exposing some elements of Israel's expected retaliation on Iran. Fox News correspondent Matt Finn joining us live this morning from Tel Aviv, Israel, with the latest details. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Israel has been striking sites in Lebanon. At the same time, the world has been waiting to see how Israel is going to respond to Iran after the Iranian missile strikes here on October 1st. And now the United States is investigating a potential leak that may reveal some of the plans or details of Iran's retaliation. The leaked documents describe some of the exercises, the aircrafts and weapons the Israeli military is possibly preparing to use in a strike against Iran. The reports might contain images generated in part by American intelligence. The documents were published by an online group called the Middle East Spectator, which claims it's a group of independent journalists. However, the Jerusalem Post and other outlets call it pro-Iran. Now, in a statement, the Middle East Spectator claims it got the leaked documents from a Telegram channel, writing, "We have no connection to the original source," which we assume to be a whistleblower within the U.S. Department of Defense. The Justice Department and the Speaker of the House say the leaks raise the concern of even more sensitive information being released.
Very concerning. There's some serious allegations being made there. Investigation underway, and I'll get a briefing on that in a couple of hours. There's a classified level briefing and then other, but we're following it closely.
Now, Iran is giving a chilling warning, writing, "Any country aware of the timing and manner of the attack on Iran or participating in any aggression will bear responsibility." And that, could be a cryptic message to the United States. Now, happening now here in the Middle East, Israel has been bombing a few locations in southern Lebanon that it's identified as Hezbollah-linked sites. The IDF says it's using precision targeting and has been giving advance notice to residents of that area to flee. Also, interesting development here. Israel just announced that it arrested 7 spies, people spying here in Israel for Iran. Israel says those spies were passing along information about sensitive sites, including military bases and the Iron Dome. These spies, allegedly, Israel says, took hundreds of thousands of dollars from Iran. Back to you.
Matt Finn, always stellar reporting. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday morning here on Live Now. And really briefly, if you don't mind me asking you, I know there was speculation over the weekend as they were discussing the Five Eyes that had this intelligence, and they were wondering, okay, who could have potentially leaked it? There was speculation from some out in the Middle East that maybe the U.S. leaked these documents. They were saying that the U.S. doesn't really want Israel to continue with the fighting, and they may have potentially done this. What are you hearing on your end?
Well, we just had General Jack Keane on our air a short while ago. In his opinion is that perhaps, someone within the United States Justice Department did want to reveal this information, perhaps is pro-Iran. The website, the Mideast Spectator, alleges that it likely was someone within the United States, and that is a big possibility because some of this intelligence did come from the United States. So it's a very tragic development. General Jack Keane and other analysts are saying it hasn't necessarily exposed the plan that Israel might carry out. It hasn't exposed when and where they may strike. It is simply revealed some of the weaponry and some of the planning that has gone into it.
Matt Finn, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We see this is a fluid situation. You enjoy the rest of your day and have a safe one.
Days after a joint naval operation by the United States and Canada in the Taiwan Strait, China has said that it would carry out live fire drills in the contested waters.
Now, the Maritime Safety Administration, MSA, in southeast city of Pingtang announced that the gun firing would take place in limited area in the waters near Neoshan Island from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. local time. Sitting east of Pingtang Island, Neoshan Island is only 165 kilometers from Taipei, the Taiwanese capital. MSA's statement specified that ships would be prohibited from entering the area of firing, encompassing about 150 square kilometers. However, the statement did not say which Chinese force would be carrying out the live firing or its objectives.
Taiwan's defense ministry said that though the Chinese live firing is part of routine annual drills, it could also possibly be China's deterrence effect in the waters of the Taiwan Strait. Over the weekend, USS Higgins, a U.S. Navy destroyer, and a Canadian frigate HMC Vancouver sailed through the Taiwan Strait after China conducted military exercises in the region on the 14th of October. Beijing described it as a warning against separatist activities. As part of the exercise, a record number of Chinese military aircraft as well as warships and Coast Guard vessels encircled Taiwan. In response to the exercises, Taiwan deployed appropriate forces and put outlying islands on heightened alert.
We're not looking at BRICS as an evolving into some kind of geopolitical rival. That's not how we look at it to the United States or anyone else. And so we're going to continue to work with our relationships, our partnerships, whether it's with Brazil, India, South Africa. And so we're going to continue to manage certainly those relationships and with China, for example. And so that's going to be our focus right now.
So Tuesday, the countries in BRICS are going to be going to Russia for a meeting. How concerned is the administration that this bloc of countries could undermine U.S. economic or trade strength that we have?
So, look, what we're focused on is on the working with partners around the world and to build the broadest and deepest coalitions possible to help achieve our shared goals. That's what we're going to be focused on. We're not looking at BRICS as an evolving into some kind of geopolitical rival. That's not how we look at it to the United States or anyone else. And so we're going to continue to work with our relationships, our partnerships, whether it's with Brazil, India, South Africa. And so we're going to continue to manage certainly those relationships and with China, for example. And so that's going to be our focus right now.
One of the newest members of BRICS is the United Arab Emirates. And on September 23rd, the administration signed a deal with them to develop new AI technologies. How concerned then is the Biden administration that what we give to the UAE will then end up in Russia, China, or Iran's hands through the BRICS agreements?
So we've worked extensively with UAE on advanced technology. That is something that we have done, and we've done that for the last 2 years. And so that partnering is moving forward. And we believe it's moving forward in the right direction. So we recognize, and this is why the president did an executive action, took an executive action on AI. We recognize the potential good, right, of AI, and look forward to certainly furthering that and solidifying our collaboration in AI as we try to build the safeguards and protections. Again, that's why we did the EO and executive action on it.
But the transfer of technology, are concerned about through the BRICS agreement that the transfer of technology will happen?
So look, again, we've worked extensively, really, truly extensively with the UAE, and we are. I think where we're headed, the movement, how we're moving forward, is in a good place. And so this is a conversation that we've had over the last 2 years. And so we're going to continue to have those conversations. We're going to continue to work through this. And so we believe it's moving in the right direction.
Russia is not as isolated as the West thinks. That's the message Vladimir Putin wants to convey as he hosts the BRICS Plus summit this week. Around 30 countries, 20 heads of state and 20,000 guests have gathered along the banks of the Volga.
Top leaders of many countries will attend the 16th BRICS summit, including China and Russia, which is very important. It proves that relevant countries are optimistic about the future of the BRICS mechanism.
It is the largest international gathering hosted by Russia since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The group, made up of emerging global economies, includes 5 founding members: Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. This year it added Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates. There are 30 countries who have applied to join the bloc, including NATO member Turkey. A gathering of these influential states is being seen as a major coup for President Putin. He will also welcome the UN Secretary-General to Russia. It will be the first time the two have spoken since 2022. Putin has faced travel restrictions due to a warrant for his arrest issued by the International Criminal Court. With member states representing 35% of the global economy, the group, which rivals the G7, has a big impact. The Kremlin wants to convince its main trading partners to use their national currencies in trade in order to weaken the dominance of the American dollar. In addition to this, Moscow wants to create an alternative payment platform immune from Western sanctions. This would be beneficial for Russian companies ousted from the SWIFT network, a payment system used by financial institutions around the world. However, differences with some member states, such as India, might make this difficult to achieve.
China's Xi Jinping, India's Narendra Modi, and other global leaders have arrived in the Russian city of Kazan for a summit of the BRICS bloc of developing economies. The alliance aims to counterbalance a Western-led world order. Russian officials say President Vladimir Putin will hold 20 bilateral meetings. The three-day meeting also offers Putin a powerful way to demonstrate the failure of U.S.-led efforts to isolate Russia over its action in Ukraine. On the sidelines of the summit, Putin will meet with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday. It will be the first visit to Russia in more than 2 years for Guterres, who has repeatedly criticized Russia's war in Ukraine.
Признательны, что вы откликнулись на наше приглашение и лично приехали в Казань на саммит БРИКС. Сегодня мы вместе примем участие в церемонии открытия саммита. Затем предстоит общение лидеров за ужином, и таким образом мы начнем уже нашу работу. В Казани мы должны принять целый ряд важных решений, направленных на дальнейшее совершенствование деятельности объединения и укрепление многопланового сотрудничества в его рамках. У нас такие отношения, что я считал, что вы и так все понимаете.
हमारे इतने रिश्ते हैं कि मुझे ऐसा लगा कि आपको कोई अनुवाद नहीं चाहिए।
एक्सेलेंसी, रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच चल रहे संघर्ष के विषय पर हम लगातार संपर्क में रहे हैं। जैसा मैंने पहले भी कहा है, हमारा मानना है कि समस्याओं का समाधान शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से ही होना चाहिए। शांति और स्थिरता की जल्द से जल्द बहाली का हम पूरी तरह समर्थन करते हैं।
Хотел бы вновь, теперь уже лично, поздравить вас, дорогой друг, всех наших китайских друзей, дружественный китайский народ с недавно отмечавшимися юбилейными датами, имею в виду 75 лет образования Китайской Народной Республики и установления дипломатических связей между нашими странами. За прошедшие 75 лет российско-китайские отношения вышли на уровень всеобъемлющего партнерства и стратегического взаимодействия. И мы можем с полной уверенностью утверждать, что они стали образцом того, как в современном мире должны строиться отношения между государствами. Российско-китайское сотрудничество в мировых делах выступает одним из главных стабилизирующих факторов на мировой арене. Мы намерены и далее наращивать координацию на всех многосторонних площадках в целях обеспечения глобальной безопасности и справедливого миропорядка.
共同庆祝这个建交75周年，回首走过的路，中俄关系风雨兼程，砥砺前行，取得一系列开创性成果，更大贡献。谢谢。